Kansas City Chiefs, Arizona Cardinals. What did we learn? This is the episode for the offensive side of the ball. I will be back later with the defensive side of the ball. And guys, I'm just going to jump right into it. I'm not going to waste any time. We're not going to talk about quarterbacks probably at all. We are going to start exactly where we have to start with this game, the one play that mattered. Now, guys, here's the thing. I have seen an absolutely muted response to this, and I cannot explain to you why. Peter Sweeney, Peter Space Sweeney, Arrowhead Pride, tweeted out after Jason Brownlee's touchdown something to the effect of, he has a chance to make this team. I think, now, Twitter/X is making things difficult to tell where the timeline was, right? I believe this was after that play. And guys, I heard that commentary from a couple different people. Jason Brownlee has an opportunity to make this team. Guys, I'm sorry. That play was not by accident. Jason Brownlee was on the field with the ones. Jason Brownlee was on the field with Patrick Mahomes. If you go back and you watch that play, Jason Brownlee was not the primary read. Jason Brownlee was the only read. Patrick Mahomes took the snap. Patrick Mahomes changed his field of vision. Patrick Mahomes delivered the ball that should have been absolutely uncatchable. On purpose. Why? It was not by accident or happenstance that Jason Brownlee was running that route on that play. Jason Brownlee on that play was the closer. Jason Brownlee on that play was sent in with a nod and a tap on the belly and told, Patrick Mahomes doesn't need to play anymore. Bring this home. That play is immediately fungible inside the red zone. Patrick Mahomes hasn't had that guy. Somewhere along the line, Travis Kelce stopped being that guy. And I don't mean the guy, I just mean that guy. Corner of the end zone guy, back shoulder guy, ball where no one else can get it guy. And Travis Kelce is still the best receiving tight end in football, but he's not that guy. He's the guy, he's not that guy. Patrick Mahomes, as far as wide receivers are concerned, never really had that guy. There was a little bit of time last year with Nuke Hopkins where Patrick Mahomes was starting to throw some stop routes, starting to throw some back shoulder stuff. Didn't look all that great. He was not used to it. Now, with Jason Brownlee, it appears they are trying to have that guy, and this play is, like I said, immediately fungible inside the red zone. You can't stop it. Look, Max Melton, the cornerback on the play, is a bit undersized by body weight. He's like 187, 190, maybe a little bit more than that now, but he was a second-round pick. He's 5'11" inches tall. He has a 4.39 40-yard dash. He had a 40.5-inch vertical, if memory serves me correctly. An absolute above-average athleticism cornerback in the NFL who had no shot on that play. Jason Brownlee, in my opinion, is on the 2025 Kansas City Chiefs. Now, it's going to be an easy answer early in the season because if you were planning to take 7, that 7 becomes 8 with the Rashee Rice suspension. Gets interesting after that. We're going to get to that in a moment, but Tyquan Thornton is also a part of this team, out there with the ones, being counted on. Maybe not a whole lot to show for it, but he was out there. I think that what is interesting about Tyquan Thornton and his role with the Kansas City Chiefs in 2025 is going to be where and how they put him on the field. How do you get it done, right? Because you're looking at a guy who's probably wide receiver 5, wide receiver 6. But golly, is he dangerous deep. Well, so is wide receiver 2. So is wide receiver 3. So how they decide, how they manage to juggle things around is going to be very interesting for the Kansas City Chiefs in this season. Moving on from that, Sky Moore is done. I hate to be negative. I try not to be negative. Sky Moore is done. Why keep him around? Why let him finish training camp? He had a negative effect on the other wide receivers in this very game. Jalen Royals was supposed to catch a screen pass, and he got blown up because Sky Moore did not get his job done. He had no catches, and even when he was not catching the football, when he was the other guy on the field, when he wasn't running a route, he couldn't do that part either. Now, you go back and you watch that play, Sky Moore does not have to make the block. Sky Moore has to get in somebody's way. That's what he has to do there. He has to get in someone's way because getting in that person's way allows Jalen Royals to read his intention. I believe it was Max Melton again. Jalen Royals gets to just read the intention, and it's like having a lead blocker, but it's just somebody in the way. Didn't happen. Didn't work. Didn't matter. Sky Moore was on the field. I hope Sky Moore does not make it out of St. Joe. I really do. Which is to say, I hope he doesn't make it to cutdown day, because I think he is having a negative effect on the rest of the players around him and their development. What I saw from Jalen Royals was kind of what I expected to see from Jalen Royals, a guy who has the athleticism, a guy who is maybe a little bit awkward on the field at this point because it's an Andy Reid offense and he's coming in as a 4th-round pick. I think he has high number 2 side potential in the NFL. One thing that does not please me to say, I think that Nico Remigio might be in trouble. I like Nico Remigio. I think Nico Remigio is undervalued as a wide receiver. But when you start looking at what Nico Remigio brings as a wide receiver, it's not red zone ability. Jason Brownlee has red zone ability. What does that mean? Well, that's 6 points is what red zone ability means. It's not deep speed. Well, Tyquan Thornton's the deep speed, right? What is it that Nico Remigio brings on the offensive side of the ball? I'm not sure that he brings anything that is not represented somewhere else. Not to say that he's not a good player, but I think, his grittiness is there with Jalen Royals. I think that his escapability is there with what I think you would say there's flashes of that with Tyquan Thornton in his ability to get open. If you're talking about his hands, well, I think that there's any number of wide receivers on this team right now that have great hands. Jason Brownlee just proved that. So the one thing that Nico Remigio does above all others is the special teams stuff. So now we have to keep an eye on the special teams and see who ends up returning punts in practice this week. If there are a sudden influx of names returning punts, returning kickoffs, might be a bad sign for Nico. I think he enters the season as a Kansas City Chief because, like I said, they're going to have that roster spot from Rashee Rice being suspended. After that, it's a month, right? 4 to 6 weeks, the Kansas City Chiefs are expected to be ready to suspend him, 4 to 6 weeks. It's a month and a half. Can you shop him in that time, right? So while we're talking about trades, the Chiefs might have some targets on the defensive side of the ball. The defense did not look great yesterday, but here's the thing. We know this for several years now. That defense is absolutely aggravating. And somehow teams score 21 points. Somehow teams are held to 17. Somehow teams raced up and down the field but scored 13 points. So not to get to the defensive side of the ball yet, but if there's trades to be had, it might not be for draft picks, which was my prior assumption. He's going to try and trade for draft picks, not anything else. It might be something else. Now, the one UDFA here that was this year UDFA, right? The one UDFA here, well, Jason Brownlee's UDFA, Nico Remigio's a UDFA. The one UDFA here that is from this season, Elijah Badger. We saw a couple times, and he moves well. He reads blocks well. He's good in traffic. These were all sort of the things that we thought coming out of college. If you go back to that video that I made, I'm pretty sure every one of those things is in that video. I think he is a strong candidate for a practice squad season this year. I think he makes it through. I don't think he's shown anything in camp or in this preseason game to make you believe you can't sneak him through to the practice squad. The interesting thing is going to be whether or not you can have the space to take both Delana and Badger, because I think Delana has the tools, wasn't able to show as much as Badger was in this game, but we will see moving forward if he has some of that juice as well. Now, running back position here. I don't have tight ends on the list. Obviously, we saw good things from Robert Tonyan. We saw Robert Tonyan become who it was that he looked like he was in camp. Jared Wiley had some stuff erased by penalty, but looked kind of how it is that you would hope he would look. Noah Gray, Travis Kelce, kind of a nondescript game from them. Good. Jorquarius Spivey was on the field. I don't know if I saw Trey Watson. The numbers, again, this part of the preseason are still a little bit difficult for me. So looking at the field, trying to figure out who I'm looking at. We will have snap counts either tomorrow or the next day, so I'll know a little bit more then. But Isaiah Pacheco seems to be where he was pre-injury last year. Early last year, remember, last year was a tale of two seasons for Isaiah Pacheco, early season, and then when he came back from injury. When he came back from injury, he did not look to me like the same running back, and that's to be expected. But here's the weird part of it. When he came back from injury, he looked like the running back he used to be. He looked like the guy that he was in 2023. So early last year, he started the season, I thought, with a little bit more wiggle. I thought with a little bit better ability to read blocks. I thought with a little bit better ability to get north and south and make progress. He looked like he was a better running back overall. I think the early days of Kareem Hunt really kind of scared him and let him know that the NFL is serious business. And he rushed back to the field, and he just kind of looked like he did in 2023. That run we got from Isaiah Pacheco looked like he was back to early 2024 form. If that is the running back that the Kansas City Chiefs have as running back one going into this season, the guy who does have wiggle, the guy who can read blocks, the guy who does make progress upfield, the guy who in 2024, if I'm remembering this correctly, he started to break some runs. Not 60-yard runs, but 15s, 20s. He had a lot of trouble doing that in 22, 23. So if that's the guy the Chiefs have, it is going to be a long, long season for opposing defenses. I liked what I saw from Elijah Mitchell, even if it wasn't a whole lot. Remember, he missed all of 2024. But if you go back to who he was his rookie season, if the Chiefs got that guy and got him on the cheap, that's a dangerous player. If the Chiefs got that guy and he's running back 3 or 4, logistically, thinking about what players are good at what, this season could be very interesting. Because if everything hits, and it never does, but if everything hits, this offense is going to throw for 6,000 yards. This offense is going to have 2,000 yards rushing. It won't, right? There won't be 7,000 yards of offense from this team. But man, do they have the constituent parts that make you sit back and say, as a fantasy endeavor here, boy, does this look good. Carson Steele, again, just like with Nico Remigio, remember, all last preseason, I championed Carson Steele. I championed Nico Remigio. I am not a hater. I just don't see how Carson Steele makes this roster. Isaiah Pacheco, Brashard Smith, Kareem Hunt, Elijah Mitchell. Those are all real big-time running backs if things work well for them. That's 4. You can't take 5. I just don't think you can take 5. Unless you're going into the season with like 7 offensive linemen, which they have a ton of offensive linemen as well. I just don't see how you do it. So I don't think he's making the roster this year, but what I saw last night makes me feel good because I think he's putting on a good audition for another team. So why not? Why not Carson Steele? He showed just as much as Elijah Mitchell, probably more. I think it's about upside. I think it's about the one play in every 80. Carson Steele falls forward. That's awesome. Carson Steele seems like a guy who can probably average 4.5 yards for extended periods of time. I don't know if he's a starting running back. Can he do that? But it looks like he can do that. He's not breaking an 80-yard run. Elijah Mitchell can, if Elijah Mitchell is who Elijah Mitchell was. So that is you're taking the ceiling versus the floor. I think that Elijah Mitchell, simply by virtue of the fact that he missed an entire season, has a lower floor than Carson Steele. He has a much higher ceiling. Now, let's get to it. Offensive line. Josh Simmons didn't even look like he broke a sweat. Josh Simmons was not breathing heavy on the field. Josh Simmons was the real deal. He is who we thought he was. Baron Browning is a 256-pound guy with a 4.56 40 and a 40-inch vert. This is a former third-round pick that is the edge player against whom Josh Simmons was lining up. He's not an elite edge, right? Baron Browning is an athlete. He's not an elite edge. He's not a top 5 guy at the position, but he definitely has the tools to make Josh Simmons, a rookie, look silly. Josh Simmons, a rookie, did not look silly. Josh Simmons shut that man down. I think he lost a single rep. In my book, he lost a single rep. But that loss might not be a real rep, might not be a real loss. What happened was you have Josh Simmons. He lined up so far outside, Josh Simmons, and ran so far upfield before deciding to check on the play that I think he was just out of the play anyway. And Josh Simmons basically said, okay, pal, you want to get that far out there? I'll let you get that far out there. Here's the issue. Josh Simmons in the NFL is not playing with an Ohio State quarterback. He's playing with Patrick Mahomes. You never know where Patrick Mahomes is and much less where he's going to be, when he's going to decide to hit play on the Jack Sparrow music and run down the sideline. You don't know when that's happening. And so those passive reps at offensive tackle that work pretty much everywhere, oh, if you want to run way out there, I'll just make you. I'll just be in here tentatively waiting for you to turn the corner where I will catch you. Those reps with Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback kind of don't work. Or they can be very dangerous because all of a sudden Mahomes is running between you and the edge player in order to try to whip it downfield. Now, the one thing that I did notice about his game that's going to get him in trouble, or has the potential to get him in trouble, is his hands get too wide. Now, his hands get too wide. His hands stay too wide, but it's actually for a good reason. So for anyone who doesn't know, they basically don't call holding in the NFL unless an offensive tackle's hands, offensive lineman's hands, get outside the shoulder pads of the defensive player, right? If he gets out there, then they're calling holding every time. For most offensive linemen, it's not really a problem. So your shoulder pads come down here. There's a breastplate to a shoulder pad. An offensive lineman can legally grab that breastplate of the shoulder pad and hoist people up. It's legal. Well, kind of. They're not going to call it. Now, for most offensive linemen, that's advantageous because this is where your strength is. You've got your elbows tucked. You have your shoulders tight to the body so that you have leverage against your body. Right here is where there's a lot of power. Right here, kind of right here. Josh Simmons is playing with his hands out here. Most offensive linemen cannot do that because they don't have the strength. When your hands are out here, your shoulder goes all willy-nilly. Your elbow, you're doing this. So you're not stable. So you don't have a whole lot of strength in those positions. Josh Simmons does. So he's able to do it, and he's probably gotten away with it his entire life. Now, so that's Josh Simmons, right? It just is who we thought he was. Good things so far. Nothing to worry about yet. Let's take this 1 week at a time. Just like Patrick Mahomes' rookie season, every week, or his 2018 season, I guess I should say. Every week, I was holding my breath, waiting for Patrick Mahomes to turn back into a pumpkin, and it just never happened. So as a Chiefs fan, always waiting for the other foot to fall, I will be waiting for something to happen with Josh Simmons. Let's talk about Kingsley. Kingsley Suamataia, in my opinion, is Deontay Wilder. Now, that is a nonsensical statement. Let me tell you what I mean. He lost a rep. He got blown up on a play. That's not the biggest deal in the world. He got blown up on a play by, I think it was a linebacker. It's a little bit of a bigger deal, but it happens in the NFL. Linebackers are oftentimes super athletes, right? Run 4.6 40s. They can hang clean, 400 pounds, all this stuff. You take a linebacker's helmet to your face mask, you're going to get blown up. He got blown up. That's not where the problem is. Okay? There is a phrase in the NFL among offensive linemen, die slow, which means if you're going to fall, if you're going on your butt, be in his way. Make him step over you. Kingsley Suamataia got blown up and turned and put his hands out to stop himself from falling. Oh no, that is going to get him yelled at in film session. But why do I say he's Deontay Wilder? Well, there's something that happens in boxing, and especially, I think, with heavyweights. And it most recently happened with Deontay Wilder after the Tyson Fury fight. You don't have to know who those people are. I'm going to explain it this way anyhow. A guy starts boxing, and it turns out he's pretty good. Wins a couple of fights. Now, all of a sudden, his promoter has something to promote. But not really. He needs a few more wins. So they're going to start throwing tomato cans at him. Guys called tomato cans. You throw them in front of him, and he just beats him up, beats him silly, knocks him down, gets the win. Now, all of a sudden, he had 3 real fights when he was young, and he's knocked off 15 straight tomato cans. This heavyweight boxer is 18-0. He is invincible. And then he gets knocked out. He gets sparked, gets the lights put out, and he never comes back the same. That, in my opinion, is what has happened to Kingsley Suamataia. He has lost the eye of the tiger, and he does not look like the offensive lineman that he was coming out of college. 2 more notes here, and then we will get to the defensive video tonight. CJ Hansen looked pretty good. I'm not seeing the super athlete that he is at the offensive guard position, but he was on point. And you have to learn to paint before you can become an artist, right? I think what is going to happen is if CJ Hansen can get the techniques down, he will learn to be able to play freer. And I think that could mean CJ Hansen is a starting level offensive guard. Go back and watch the Ezapole video from last night. You're going to have fun. He's going to get called for holding, for tugging on people's jerseys. Because like I said, out wide is where you get called, but the other place you get called is when you're literally grabbing the jersey and tugging it. He does not have technique either. But he is a guy that was basically playing tag out there on the field, and he was just too big to move. He is a reactor, not a form guy, and there was a sack that happened where he was basically square dancing around his defensive end. He was not to blame for the sack. Somebody else gave up the sack, but Ezapole was just kind of running around the edge player there. And if the Chiefs can harness Ezapole, they have a real-life left tackle on their hands. So that could be something to watch for. I think he slips through waivers. I think you sign him to your practice squad and you wait it out a single year, maybe. And if you can get some of the technique in there, he is a legitimate talent at tackle. That is all I have for this video, guys. I will be back later with the defensive side of the ball. If you like or appreciate this sort of thing, hitting a like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing that I talk about on this channel, having dropped a video every day for the last 2.5 years. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.